Hey guys, welcome back to the Homework Assignment Podcast. I'm your host, RJ Patino, and today we have a great show for you. So, one of the things that I've been kind of experiencing, I just kind of wanted to share a little bit, and that is it is personal, which is fine, obviously, but there's a lot of moments in entrepreneurship or in just kind of pushing yourself to the limit, getting to greatness, where you have those self-doubts. I know we've talked about this a little bit, those feelings of anxiety, of inadequacy, and we may have touched base a little bit on it almost in each podcast. And I think that's important to recognize because it is a problem. It's a good problem to have, but it still is a problem, right? And I think it's always important to kind of recognize that and be able to come up with, talk about new solutions, kind of things that are going on. And again, me just wanting to share my experience of that feeling of self-doubt. Like, what do we do when we have those feelings? How do we operate? How do we act? And what is the best way to overcome it? And we actually had a lesson in our company just a few days ago, kind of about this, about persistency. Being persistent, being consistent in everything that we do, and being able to have that breaking point and break through that threshold. So self-doubt comes in many forms. I think for me personally, it comes in forms of, imposter syndrome, really wondering and asking myself, do I even know what I'm doing? Am I just faking it till I make it? Am I showing this big picture of, hey, look at me, I'm this guy who has a podcast and I'm trying to help people and give advice on experience, but in the background I'm stressed out all the time and I have all this anxiety and wondering, hey, am I really going to make it? Are we really going to get to that next level? And even with, looking back and being like, hey, look how far we've come. Like, we've done great things. Of course I can do it again. Sometimes that doesn't even help. Sometimes it gets really hard. And I think it especially gets hard when things that are unplanned for come to pass. And or you make a mistake that's big, and it may be the biggest mistake you've ever made, and you're like, holy cow, like, do I know what I'm doing? Am I actually doing this right? And then, as an entrepreneur or a father or a mother, when you make big mistakes, you begin to wonder if you made the right decision to be able to take on such a big responsibility. I know I felt that with my daughters when I had children, and I feel that with every child. Feel that now with my wife's pregnant, so I have those feelings from day to day, like, okay, another mouth to feed, another person, have to haul on trips, gonna need a bigger car, gonna need this, I'm gonna have to give more time and attention to her, split it up between 3 daughters now instead of 2. It's like, can I do that? Am I built for that? Can I make the time for that? And, as an entrepreneur, it's like, hey, you got all these people that depend on you to cut their checks every week. They depend on you to run your company right, because if you don't run your company right, it's going to affect them negatively, not only you. And so all of that can be a ton. And we've talked in the past about taking that time for yourself, really focusing on your self-development and being able to realize you are the one, you can do it, all that kind of stuff, positive affirmations. And so I want to kind of share some other tips that have worked for me, because I've had especially last couple of weeks, it's been so many new systems and stuff growing, and there's been mistakes on my end. There's been some negative, issues that have been going on with some of our jobs with our commercial clients due to new stuff coming up, and also mistakes on other people's part, stuff that's not in our control, but still affects us negatively. And sometimes people don't see that. Sometimes they don't see the back end. They just expect you to do your job, and they don't realize that what they're doing is actually causing, delays or problems in your company. But they just, people are so quick to, point the finger. So one of the things that, we've learned and that I've been able to put into play is really being persistent. It's being able to push through by doing the little things. So there is a podcast I just listened to, which may have triggered this whole thing as well, because I was really feeling some self-doubt stuff, and I was able to listen to this podcast by Andy Frisella, and he talked about some of the self-doubt stuff, and he says, hey, your emotions are irrelevant. They do not matter. If you wake up every day and you win the day, it doesn't matter if during that day that you were winning, you felt inadequate, you felt dumb, you felt like an imposter, because when you go to sleep that night, you did all the things that you needed to do to win your day. Therefore, you won. You do that every single day. Doesn't matter how you feel, you're going to succeed. And I think that's really important because there's all these small things that we do on a daily basis that we don't really think is very important, that isn't going to move the mountain, so to speak. But when you add up those little small things, at the end of that week, they moved the mountain a foot or two. And sometimes it's so simple and so small and minuscule on the huge chart of things to do, responsibilities, that we overlook it. We realize, hey, what does that matter, right? Like, what does it matter if I wake up and go to the gym every morning? That's not going to help my cash flow problem. But in reality, waking up and going to the gym every morning gives my mind a head start, right? Helps me think, helps me feel better, helps me operate better. And by the end of the week, I found the solution to the cash flow problem. Didn't solve it, but it prepared me to be able to solve it, right? And so, every business is different, every household is different, but by simple and small things are great things brought to pass. I'm quoting that from a scripture. That's an actual scripture, and I 100% believe it. We were able to talk about that a little bit this week, that, hey, by small and simple things are great things brought to pass, and it's 100% true. You hear, like, in relationships, hey, it's the small things that matter, or just in life in general, it's the small things that matter. If you're able to do this thing repetitively, be consistent and persistent in doing this every single day nonstop, and knowing that little thing progresses you inch by inch. It may not be a foot, but it's inch by inch. Well, 12 days, those inches add up, and guess what? You finally progress a foot. And so I have come to realize that when things get rough, when I feel that self-doubt, when life is getting hard, when business is getting hard, being able to push harder, and by pushing harder, I mean figuring out what those small things are that help me win my day, and just focusing in and tuning in on those things and getting them done no matter how I feel, whether I feel inadequate, whether I feel like I'm failing, or whether I feel, that they're not going to work, just sucking up and just doing them, like even having a checklist and checking them off. After a little bit of time, it works, okay? It may not get me to Z, but it got me to G, and that's all that I needed. Because now that I'm on G, I'm able to look back and be like, okay, it sucked. The entire process sucked, but I went step by step, and I was able to progress myself step by step, and now I'm 50% of the way there. Now I'm that much closer to succeeding. And so it actually reminds me, and I shared this story in our meeting just the other day. It really shines light on a story out of the Bible. It's the story of Moses, where Moses led his people out of Egypt, and they came upon a bunch of poisonous serpents, and everybody got bit and everybody was dying. Well, Moses was, trying to figure out the best way out of that. He was inspired by God to lift up, God told him, hey, raise up your pole, and everybody who looks at it will be saved, and those who don't will perish. And so Moses is like, hey, everybody look at my staff. And everybody's like, why would I look at your staff? How is that going to save me? I am literally dying. I've been bitten. I am dying. How is looking at a piece of wood going to save my life? Well, guess what? The ones that did were saved according to God's word, and the ones that didn't perished. And that lesson goes into what we're talking about. By simple things are great things brought to pass. It was that simple to believe enough to look at that piece of wood, and you would be saved. And so, going into, again, those small things, having, not just doing it, but really trying to push yourself to believe that those small things, those small tasks, those small ideas are going to bring about great things. You just have to do them. Have faith in them. Because if you know that they've worked in the past, they'll work again. If you know they're positive and they're not going to impact you negatively, there's nothing wrong with doing it, right? Like, how is, like I said, going to the gym going to help in cash flow? How is going to the gym going to help me land a job? They don't really correlate very well, but this affects this, which then affects that, right? And it may be 5 different things I need to get affected before it affects the thing that you're shooting for, but it doesn't matter. It's something that can affect it, even if it's not affecting it directly. Really important to understand. So to tie it all up, self-doubt. I think 100%. It's natural. I think it's debilitating at times. I think it's overwhelming, and I think everybody deals with it. And even if you're not an entrepreneur or you're in your home life, it is a natural thing to that comes to pass. I mean, I can't imagine, or I can, but thinking back when I graduated high school, your senior year, everybody, towards the end of the year, hey, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with life? Those are pivotal moments for teenagers where it's just like, some people are unsure, or some people have a plan, but whether you're unsure or have a plan, that anxiety is there both ways. The anxiety of not having a plan and the anxiety of having to complete a plan and accomplish a plan. And it's just like, those are those self-doubt moments, but that's how people are made. That's how things come to pass. People learn how to push through it and not let that self-doubt consume them. Because if you let the self-doubt consume, you're never going to know, right? Hey, what if I fail? Okay, well, what if you don't? Right? Are you willing to take it? I think that right there is one thing that literally destroys dreams. I think that's another thing Andy Frisell was talking about. It's like that phrase, what if, destroys people's dreams. How many people do you know that have reached a high age in life and they're not doing what they had always wanted to do? How would you feel if you didn't do what you've always wanted to do? Right? And maybe you guys don't know what you want to do. But when you figure it out, what if you don't accomplish it? What if you never get there? Like, that sucks. But what if you take the risk, you take the leap? What if you deal with the anxiety, the self-doubt? And what if you accomplish those little things every day that you need to accomplish that'll help you win the day, and then you do succeed? How great would it be? I mean, it's phenomenal. And unfortunately, a lot of self-doubt comes from people that you love and people that you know. People that want to be realistic. Hey, that's a tough thing you're doing. Like, hey, I want you to succeed, but have you really thought this through? And they instill that self-doubt in you. So a lot of times it may not be yourself feeling that self-doubt. It might be self-doubt from the people that you've trusted the most in your life that are looking out for you for the better good, right? Because they love you, but they instill that doubt, or they don't want to see you succeed because then they realize, oh my gosh, I could have done what I wanted to do. I just didn't try. And so it's really trying to find that grit that you need. That's what it is. It's grit to push through, grit to continue trying, grit to not give up, grit to accept the losses and learn from them, and not accept a loss and quit. Okay. The self-doubt it's overwhelming. I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk about it 80 more times in the life of this podcast. But guys, if you're feeling self-doubt, if you feel like you are inadequate, that you cannot do it, I promise you can. All you got to do is focus on the small and little things and do one at a time, and they will add up to be the grand scheme of everything that you're looking to accomplish. They're going to add up. They're going to propel you. They're going to help you get there. So lesson for today is self-doubt, and really trying to fight that voice in your head, trying to fight the lack of willpower to keep going, or to just give up and say, hey, there's not a solution here and I just need to restart. That's something that I faced once, is like, hey, I'm not necessarily giving up. I want to try again. I just want to restart instead of face my problem head on. Because of that self-doubt, wondering if I was going to fail. Well, guess what? I faced it head on and it sucked. It was the worst thing ever. But by little simple steps and little simple tasks, I was able to push through, and I accomplished what I was looking to accomplish. So all in all, guys, life can be rough, whether you're at home or whether you're running a business or, trying to excel in a career. It's rough, it gets tough, and it's hard. And you need to prepare yourself right now, even if you haven't faced those moments or are not facing them. You need to prepare yourself right now and make the decision now that you are going to push through it and do the small things that matter. And hey, if you're not doing small things that matter right now and you're not even going through anything, do them right now. So it's already a habit. And number one, if you do them right now, it's going to help you succeed even further anyways. So by small and simple things are great things come to pass. By small and simple things is self-doubt completely eliminated and destroyed. And by small and simple things are you able to succeed. So that all in all is basically what I want to talk about today. It's been on my mind a little bit, and I think mostly because I've been feeling that, and I think it comes for me in phases and waves. And what's important to recognize is if you're feeling self-doubt, that is a good thing. That's a good thing, okay? That means you're doing stuff you've never done. That means you're doing things that are pushing you out of your comfort zone. So that should be a good sign that you're actually moving up and forward, okay? If you're not feeling that, if you're comfortable, you're probably not doing enough. You're really not doing enough, okay? Because success, getting to the next level, consistently going to the next and next and next level, you should always be out of your comfort zone. You should always be having to push yourself, having those emotions, and actually, having to do those small and simple things in order to succeed, right? So if you're not feeling that right now, self-evaluate. Probably going to realize you're not doing enough. You're not moving forward, and reevaluate and get yourself back on track. If you're feeling those feelings, evaluate and then focus. Hey, what are these 5 power tasks? Or again, I'm going off of what Andy has taught before. Whether you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't really matter. Figure out what your tasks are and then push forward and get them done. Because I personally have done it. I know it works, and I'm going to continue to do it. And I'm going to continue feeling self-doubt. I'm going to continue feeling when I get to that next breaking point, man, I got to go. I'm going even bigger now. Like, can I do that? Am I able to do that? Like, hey, this was easy because these were people I was in with. Now I got to deal with these type of people. Like, we talk about elder contracting, the transition it's making. Like, it's nerve-wracking going from, crushing the remodel industry and, building industry on a decent level to now going to homes and dealing with clients that are on a whole different level financially. They're on a whole different level with their mindset. They're living a whole different lifestyle and being able to accomplish what now they want versus what the clients we deal with now want. And I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well, but it really is a huge difference. Okay. It's a huge difference from doing a cookie cut home to building a custom home with a 35 car underground garage. I mean, that's the type of difference that it is in this clientele. And the question is like, man, I'm 28 years old. Are they going to listen to me? I thought it was crazy trying to get someone when I first started back, 20 whatever years old, early on, like, hey, how do I get someone to trust me, a 20-year-old kid with $250,000? That's insanity. They're never gonna pay me. Okay, well, by small things and doing certain things, they were able to see, okay, kid knows what he's doing, and they were able to pay me that $250,000. Now I got to go and see, hey, how is this person going to trust a 28-year-old with $6 million for a brand new custom build? Like, that's insane to me. But again, if I follow those simple and small things, I'm able to overcome that self-doubt because I know these things work because they've worked in the past. They'll work for this client. I may need to tweak them a little bit, but they're going to work. So this is a homework assignment podcast, okay? It's continuous talking about topics that we face every day that affect our home life, our work life, and just not only trying to find the balance, but trying to find solutions, right? So guys, please comment if you guys have any, solutions or, let us know what's worked for you. Okay. Put your input in there. And we're all here to share. We're all here to learn from each other. And, that's what this is all about. We want to be a team. We want to be able to lean on each other and really figure out how we can dominate our sector and while doing that, becoming the best person that we can be. Right. So I've used this phrase before. Before you become a 7-figure, or have a 7-figure business, you need to become a 7-figure person. If you skip that step, you're going to fail really quick if you even get there to those 7 figures. So really personal development. So anyways, thanks for joining, guys. We appreciate you. Please comment. Again, leave more questions in the comments of YouTube. You can drop comments in our pictures on the Homework Assignment Podcast on Instagram. Click the link below. You'll be able to find everything. All the links to everything on there, including our elder contracting, kind of follow our company along the way as we transition and, the work we've done, the work we're about to do. It's amazing, and it's going to be a huge, fun transition for our company, and we really enjoy and love what we do, and we hope you guys tune in next week.